in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First, we'll go to the approval of the agenda. There is one item I want to try and add to the agenda will be election of officers. So we can add it to the end of new business, item 5.
Okay. Move to approve.
Yeah, first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Next one will be citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight?
We do not have any comments tonight.
Thank you very much. Next item will be approval of the minutes from the December 12th, 2017 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. Discussion. I think we have one note.
Yeah, there was just one thing here on item number 1 where it says Butler called the meeting to order at 7 p.m. I think that was just a copy-paste error. That was myself.
Thank you, sir. I think Daniel just want to make sure everybody knew it wasn't here. Any additional notes? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. All right, well, I move right into new business. Item 1, modification to Cumberland Estates Phase 1 approval requirements as they pertain to lot number 48, parcel located at 7424 Cumberland Drive, tax map 47P, Group C, parcel 48, property zoned R20 PUD, property owned by Cumberland Estates, LLC. Representation. All right, sir. If I could just get you to state your name.
My name is Trey Lewis. I'm Vice President of Old South Properties, and we're the builder of record for Cumberland Estates. And I want to thank you all for hearing this request tonight. The current subdivision approval has 5 lots that face Cumberland Drive. And on those 5 lots, we'd agreed to build those of all brick construction, with the homes being built in the subdivision behind those were approved to be 3 sides vinyl with a combination of brick, stone, and siding front exteriors. We think we've got a better idea. There's the public perception of vinyl siding is, getting less and less popular, and so we've decided to do the whole subdivision of hardy plank on 3 sides, plus a combination of stone and brick front exteriors, which will make a much nicer product. We didn't have that when we originally made the presentation, and what we're asking tonight is a variance for the lot when you enter the subdivision, which is lot 48. Let's see if we can go to the next slide. This is how the homes within Cumberland are going to be looking with the exterior design and materials. You'll see hardy plank, construction, stone, and also the foundations will be brick to grade, and that's on every home in the community. If we go to the next slide, please. Under the present approval, Cumberland Estates will be a new home subdivision behind the 5 brick homes on Cumberland Drive. And you can see the 5 lots joining Cumberland that are right now designated for all brick. This is the plot plan for the home on lot 48, which is the model home. We've designed it to where it would enter onto Braden Drive instead of Cumberland Drive, and that's the home we're requesting the material variance for. And we would like for it to be hardy plank, stone, and brick combination. And you can also see the size of lot 48 is kind of contiguous with the rest of the community. And if we're able to do that, we'll build an entrance at the neighborhood very similar to what you see there, and be extensively landscaped. And so that would be on the corner of lot 48, Cumberland and Braden Drive, if we're able to get this variance approved. and we appreciate your consideration. Do you have any questions?
Sir?
I do. The house is already up there, right? That you're
Correct.
asking for variance for?
Correct.
Just making sure I was clear on which one it was.
Yep.
We do just have some staff comments, if I can get Mr. Jenkins to read
Sure thing.
those in for me.
At the May 2016 Planning Commission meeting, Phase 1 of the Cumberland Estates PUD was approved with several contingencies as part of the approval motion. One of these specific contingencies was that all new homes facing Cumberland Drive be constructed with all 4 sides in brick, as evidenced in the attached Planning Commission minutes. During construction, the developer determined that he wanted to construct the model home, lot number 48, out of a mix of materials including brick, stone, and fiber cement siding, as opposed to the required all brick. Old South is appealing to the Planning Commission for a variance from that requirement for lot 48. In consideration of this request, Old South states that they will build all of the homes in Cumberland Estates using a combination of brick, stone, and fiber cement siding, as opposed to the previously approved combination of brick, stone, fiber cement siding for the front and vinyl siding for the side and rear.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any additional questions for the applicant?
So this is basically your model home, and you want your model home to reflect what the rest of the homes,
Yes, sir.
okay.
I'm still fairly new to the Planning Commission, so forgive me, but I'm just curious, is it normal practice to go ahead and build the home out of the regulations
Well,
and then
funny you
appeal?
should ask. We don't go ahead and do things and then come back and ask permission. We did go through a process, and we're all new to this too. And there was a misunderstanding in the definition of brick to grade on a house, and we were told it's grade, it's fine, go ahead, but the definitions weren't really clear. So we stopped construction once the misunderstanding came to light, and that's why we're here tonight, to clear that up. So,
Can I ask a question? What do you consider brick to grade? Brick all the way to the sill plate, or
Well-
brick just out of the ground?
brick to grade would be from the finished floor foundation to the grade
From the
level.
sill plate down?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, every home in the neighborhood will have brick to
So
grade.
there'll be no split block?
No exposed foundations.
We had a photo of that stone to grade or brick to grade of what they're referencing. Right there.
That's one of the elevations. And you'll see a stone ledge, decorative stone ledge, hardy plank, which hardy plank's a cementitious fiber material that's fire retardant, and it has the same characteristics of brick. And then the home being constructed will have side entry, has the one shown. So the driveway will not connect to Cumberland.
Do all of them have the eyebrows over the front windows?
There's different elevations. They all don't, but all of them have styling characteristics much like what you see.
Brooks?
I have a question. I wasn't on the planning commission when this was approved, so I don't know the answer to this. The original PUD, did it have this house, which direction was this house facing when it was approved?
It was not determined.
I think that would be a gray area question, because this is the PUD that was approved at the Board of Commissioners. And it had made adjustments from the time it left the Planning Commission to the board. And there was just some gray area of where it was approved and accepted there. I think the intention was to have all lots on Cumberland facing Cumberland. We wanted, the Planning Commission requested that no driveways access Cumberland. If they were right there at the entrance, it'd be at the side entrance. And then that the front homes facing Cumberland would be all brick. Just trying to continue the look of Cumberland past that area a little bit there, where some of the homes were on 1 acre lots and they were all brick facades and things. So,
And we're only asking for the variance for this one lot.
So when this left the planning commission originally, the understanding was all the houses, all these lots that border Cumberland would be facing Cumberland, correct?
correct, yes, sir.
And then at some point, when it went to the Board of Commissioners, something got missed, and this was approved without that. Is that correct?
Sir. And I would have to read all the minutes to be 100%, but I think that was the intention.
One of the things I can say on this, right here, is that they will be much better homes if they, without the vinyl siding and it will not look like, I mean, I think it will look like a much more appealing. I would rather buy a home in what they're proposing than I would a home in a subdivision with vinyl siding. I think it makes just a much nicer product.
Carol?
Yeah. I actually have a problem with having the change. I mean, once you do a PUD, you come in and it's not what it was voted on. I probably questioned, I think all along it was all the houses were supposed to be brick. But I went by and looked at their subdivision and I see why, it may be how they tilted the lot, why they would want this to all match. It probably would look odd the way the house was built for it to be brick and the rest of them not. But what I hate about this, of course, this subdivision is a great lesson. There was a lot of pushing through and changes that shouldn't have been done. And it was still, we were told once it was approved by the board, there couldn't be any variances unless it goes back in front of the board. Is that not still the case, Kristen?
I'm not sure that this specific characteristic is something that would constitute a change from the PUD approval. I mean, I'm looking at the preliminary master development plan that was approved by the Board of Commissioners, and the way it's laid out, it was specified that the main homes along Cumberland that were on the perimeter of the subdivision, so basically 101, well, Stacey, can you go back one, or can you show the map? Sorry, okay. You can see that the two on what's shown up there as 1 and 2, and what's shown as 49 and 50 were required to be the large 1-acre lots. Those are the ones that are on the periphery of the subdivision, whereas 48 is actually on the internal street, the new street. And as part of the PUD approval, it was not required to be the 1-acre size that the other two were. So, and the motion that was made at the Planning Commission to approve Phase 1 that said that they wanted those five to be all brick. By coming back to this board, it's a design element that I think by coming back and asking for a modification, that would be proper. I don't think that you'd have to go back to the Board of Commissioners because it wasn't a condition of the master plan. I think just trying to deviate without coming back to the Planning Commission would be incorrect, but having them come in and asking for the change would be the proper way.
I think the intent or the goal would have been to have all those, just the larger lots, and it didn't get transferred either way. But then, so the next phase, it looks like maybe we have 2 of the smaller lots. Mr. Lewis, do you know the plan for those lots there? Would you try and have the siding on those as well?
Naturally, the ones that are contiguous with the lot sizes that we're building, we'd like to have it matched, but that's certainly flexible. The main thing is defining a model home, defining the neighborhood and the sales center. And we just feel, like you say, raising the bar on the homes that we're building, having the model home there. If we needed to do something different on the other entrance, it's not an issue for us.
So the current road that you have the model home on the curved lot. Mm-hmm. And so across the street, you're going to do brick there, or what do you, what variance?
We would be tickled to death with the variance on all 5 lots, but we're not asking for that. But if you want, if that was something the commission would want, that would be great. But we're fine with building the other 4, the 1-acre lot minimums, all brick, 4 sides.
I think it's a mess. I really do.
It'll really look kind of like a mess if we
it is.
go the way it's approved.
I have a problem with it. I think the whole thing's a mess. I think what's happened here is it is going to look odd with the brick and especially with them going ahead and doing the model home, I could justify the way it's curved in and it fits, but it's still going to look very odd having the brick on the other two sides.
What would you think about putting Lot 2 in with that variance to where both corners were in line and the others were all brick?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Potter? For a PUD to have to go back before the Board of Commissioners for approval, what is the test for that? Is it significant change, or I know I've read it and I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Burks is going to need to be, lack of a better term of art, a significant material.
Mr. Potter, if you can move the microphone a little closer
A
to you.
significant and material change from the original designed plan, approved plan. So, sitting here thinking about this and if I'm understanding what he's requesting that lot number 48 they be allowed to construct just the home on lot number 48 differently. I would come down on the side of this being something within the purview of the Planning Commission.
I assume that wouldn't be considered a significant enough change.
That's my opinion.
And that's where I have the problem is that we actually, when we voted for this back then, we were told once the Board of Commissioners approved a PUD, it had to stay, because when the planning came back to the Planning Commission, there was a lot of concern with some of the people on the board on why it was approved the way it was, and we were told at that time any changes would have to come in front of the board, and the board made the final approval, and since that's what it is. Now, I don't want to split hairs over this because, what's done is done, but I still question whether or not it would have to go in front of the Board of Commission. So if you would look into that as we,
Yeah, Mayor, I think that you certainly have the prerogative to also decide that. You could say, we're going to approve this request subject to approval of the Board of Commissioners. I don't think it's necessary.
If I may, I've got in hand this was the approved master development plan that the Board of Commissioners passed. It was actually called Greenland Estates when it first came through. And what it says is that lots along Cumberland Drive that have direct access are required to be 1 acre minimum in size with rear entry garages. Now you can see that lot 48 does not have direct access because it has access to the internal Braden Drive, which is why it's smaller than the other 4. It also goes down here to say all home fronts will be constructed of all brick, stone, or cement board siding except Cumberland Drive. All homes along Cumberland Drive are required to be brick, stone, or cement board siding on all 4 sides. That was what was originally approved. That's actually what he's asking for 48. It was the Planning Commission in the approval of Phase 1 that said that they wanted those 5 to be all brick. It wasn't, the Board of Commissioners approval was actually what he's asking for. But the Planning Commission sort of strengthened their desire for higher, materials in the approval of Phase 1 as part of the motion to approve Phase 1 of Cumberland Estates. So the tenets of the master plan were actually, which are in front of me, are actually in keeping with what he's asking for. So it wouldn't be going outside the purview of what was in the preliminary master development plan.
And do we have the minutes on that? Have you read the language of how the motion passed?
For the Planning Commission?
The board.
No. I can pull that, but do you want me to? I can bring this.
Can I throw one
plan up
thing in?
for you?
Yes.
If you'd like.
I can't help but think that a lot of the brick requirement was to hide the all-vinyl subdivision in the back. And now we're not doing that, so I hope that would change the perception as well.
I think it was more from sitting on both boards. It was more of, there was a lot of controversy on the subdivision. And as I recall it, it was one of the biggest complaints with some of the neighbors were having to look over at the smaller lots. And so the ideal of having the acres be the lots, be the barrier, would be a buffer. And that's where that stemmed from. And I think it's what y'all suggested to do, but I think it's probably what made it pass.
Ms. Law, the only issue with that is that brick's actually going to be facing, you wouldn't see it from Cumberland.
Yeah, you would if the house is actually facing the corner of Cumberland.
Yeah, the plot plan is on one of those slides.
What I'm looking at, which was the front?
The front's where you're left.
That's not the front.
Okay.
The front is here.
Yeah.
Okay,
This,
I see.
This is the front. That side is the side that I was thinking.
Okay, it's
to
side
be
entry.
Brick, it's a side entry.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
That's why I was thinking that we could do something like that, that would still, alleviate Mayor Carroll's concerns, but still be both, I'm all about the compromise, I'm sorry.
Here's my next question. Is Old South agreeing to do all masonry product, whether that's fiberboard or whatever, contingent upon this being approved or not?
I'm not going to throw it out like that. We want to build a better product for the neighborhood of Fairview. And we would agree to the current section having the hardy plank masonry in writing if you would like that. But without the approval, we would not want to put that in writing. But it is our intention.
You have quite a few built with it already.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you all use the pre-finished hardy siding, or do you paint them after they're done?
No, it's Color Plus. It comes from the manufacturer.
How many
Color.
selections do you have?
About 8.
8? You shuffle them with a computer, or just let the customer pick it out?
Customer with a little intervention if they pick the wrong one. We won't have 2 side by side. Intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally.
But it really does make a good looking neighborhood.
This, the entrance there, it would block a lot of that house from Cumberland anyway, wouldn't it?
Just so everyone's clear, the builder did reach out to the city. Maybe it was the wrong person or an interpretation of the question, but before this project started, they did ask, is this going to be okay? And they were told yes. Maybe there was some confusion, or they didn't go through the proper channels. And then kudos to them for coming back to try and make it right now once it was caught on the way. But just so everyone knows, it was brought up, just maybe not through the proper process. But
The minute became aware, we stopped.
yes, sir, that's correct.
One other concern that I have is you've offered to put this entrance stone setting in there, and you don't have an easement for that, so you're going to go on there on that lot.
We'll create one on lot 48.
And make that part of the common area so that there won't be. All right.
Is there an HOA on
Yes,
this?
there is.
Okay.
I'm just kind of still concerned about what the finished product's going to look like. it's fresh on my mind. I drove by again tonight, so I worry about what was 1 and 2, and then having that one, and then going to the 49 and 50, just from what it's going to look like, and the idea of not having the brick doesn't settle well with me, but I don't know how to make it look appealing.
No, I agree. I think that it was lost in the transition from the planning commission to the board of the all brick front. So everything on Cumberland was going to be all brick. So it'd be similar to the homes that you're going to pass directly after the start of their entry to the subdivision, and some prior. And so now we've even lost it when it went to the board with the other 3, with this smaller lot and the other 3 lot, or the 2 smaller lots on the next section. But now what will it look like if you go brick, siding, brick, siding. You know, dude, is that going to look okay, or?
Well, and I think you can say 49. I mean, I think you're going to have to give up 2 also. But you could probably still do brick on 1 and 49 and 50 and just make them look like standalone homes. It's probably what's going to look more appealing.
That would give a more defined entrance as well. Also.
And then you can take 2 and kind of, I don't know what if it would, you would curve it kind of like you did.
Angle it like to.
Have y'all seen how it's angled?
Mm-hmm. I drove by it today as well.
And bring the driveway to Braden Drive on Lot 2 rather than Cumberland, right?
And it's a good-looking product, and I assume they're selling because you guys are building them very fast. So it's not like it's something that's terrible out there. It's just not what the
Now, we want to make a better-looking neighborhood. I'll show you. That's why we're here.
I just don't know. 2 is what I'm stuck on. Like, if you curve it in, that's an acre. I don't know the lot size, but it should be an acre, right?
Lot 2 is an acre.
Your original intention was to come tonight with asking for 2 and 48, and you adjusted it to just 48, right? Like last month, I think it was lot 2 and 48.
We would like to have 2 and 48, but we didn't want to push it, you know. But that would be wonderful.
To me, the lot 48, which is an acre, would be better suited to have your entrance.
That's what I was thinking too. Like
Yeah.
you could move your sign.
You got more land to take away from.
Put the sign on lot 2 instead.
I mean, put the sign, the entrance on Lot 2.
Correct.
We can do that.
Or 2 signs.
Or, okay, we could scale them down and do matching on both. Am I getting out of line, Jason? Both sides and mirror on.
Make sure the plantings are on the approved tree list.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can mirror the entrance on Lot 2 and 48.
Well, can I make a suggestion then?
Sir?
What if we were to defer this to the next meeting, let them come back with a drawing of 2 replatted to kind of mirror 48, and that way we can kind of look at it and see what it's going to look like and have the option. So I'm afraid it's going to look weird when you're driving down there if it's just one that way.
Right now, we've got a house that we have not weathered in that's kind of out in the elements, and I would hate to leave it another 30 days in that state.
I think that's the only thing is their model home, trying to get it open or finished or whatever. It's just holding right now. If we have a vision and we can tell them, you know, do we want to see the drawing of the signs to come back or something like that. But
What's the size of 48?
I don't have
It's
that.
not an acre.
No, it's like 0.26 or something like along those lines. 3.4. 0.34? Okay. Well,
14,000 square foot.
I would just like the two lots to look more uniform coming in. I think it would make a better looking product.
We can agree to mirror proportionally the placement on Lot 2 to mirror Lot 48. No one's going to be opposed to a larger backyard.
Anybody may want to make a motion?
So just to be perfectly clear, for the sake of discussion, we're only trying, right now the only thing that's before us is just whether or not we give him permission to change the building materials on the outside of a home that he's already put up.
They stopped they were installing siding, they stopped.
Yeah, I
siding
know.
as
I mean,
soon as
it's,
in a
it's
nutshell,
it's
you're
practically
correct.
up. Yeah, that's it. We're just looking at building materials for the external side of the home to match all the other homes that are already going to be in the neighborhood.
Right.
So this is 1 out of 50 that are already being built.
Correct.
And it's already up. If we turn around and say no, then you'd have to, tear down all the siding and
We'll
put
rip all
brick
the
up?
siding off and we'll brick it.
Okay.
And then we'll have a subdivision of all Hardy Plank homes stuck behind 5 brick homes.
Yeah, and then
no
as far
entrance.
as you're concerned for showing customers, potential customers your homes, you can just show them one of the other 45 here. Like, oh, well, it looks like this.
Yeah.
So,
It just makes a cleaner neighborhood when you can present
yeah. And there's
the
no
continuity.
I drove by there today, and there's no long stretch of all brick homes. Across the street, I don't think there's anything but woods directly across the street.
Just a tin barn that's vacant.
And then just a little bit down the road, like a 1/10 of a mile on the left-hand side, there's a vinyl siding home or a siding home. There's not a brick home there either. So
like
it's not going to look out of place.
There's like 6 1-acre lots, 5 or so across from Section 2 on Cumberland that are all 1 acre. We looked them up before, and they have most of them majority brick facade.
Yeah.
And so that was the inspiration from that, was trying to match for those neighbors across the street who came to the meeting and said, we're worried about it looking different and our home in the woods looking different now. So
Okay.
And down there, that would certainly apply. We don't have an issue with making those all brick.
and it doesn't feel right that the sign is being presented now as a carrot almost. I didn't know we didn't have a sign entrance before, I hope we get it, but I hate this.
It's not a carrot. I mean, you got to have an entrance, but if you've got 5 brick houses, it's kind of hard to put it behind there. We're not saying either or.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Well, I would like for them to be able to go ahead and do this. I'd also like to look into some kind of further discussion about lot number 2, exactly how that would look and what their proposal would be to mirror it. Since they don't have that drawn up tonight, they cannot present that tonight. Whenever I look at this and think, they're asking us, can they use a better product on all the houses, and we're sitting here arguing about whether they can, I'm beginning to think, to me, as somebody that builds houses, this is a ridiculous kind of an argument. Now, whether it's a carrot or not, we're going to get a nice entryway out there, and maybe one on both sides. I don't know if it's a carrot or not, but
It doesn't matter.
It's working.
but I'm first thing, my family put up vinyl siding. I'm not a fan. I was putting it up when a lot of these people in this room probably was, some of them wasn't even born yet. So I'm not a fan of the vinyl siding, and the fiber cement siding is a whole lot better product in my. I mean, you never have to paint it. I don't know what you're going to use for your trim boards, but you can
Same
almost
stuff. It's the same.
same stuff. So you get a house that, basically little or no maintenance. You get vinyl windows in it. You got a house that's no maintenance and looks good 30 years from now. We put vinyl siding out there, I promise you it's going to be cracked, broken, and look like a mess in just a few years. So when somebody comes to us and say we're wanting to upgrade, I just don't know. I mean, I know all the things that may or may not happen. But I'm inclined to go ahead and ask to approve their motion for the modification.
Okay, so that was a motion to approve the siding exterior facade on lot 48.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any additional discussion?
I just need to clarify, should we not just go ahead and put what we've discussed here, like talking about Lot 2. I mean, sure, you can come back and bring a plan or,
We'll just
you
make
know,
that
show
subject
it
to
from-
permit review
Yeah.
on the plot plan? Okay.
I would love for you to amend this to include that, Mayor.
Well, if y'all-
Plus the entryways,
Huh?
plus the entry.
And the entry rights.
With an entryway on both sides of
Yeah.
Braden Drive.
Yeah. So if, for we don't have to vote, if y'all want to just remove your,
I'm happy to do that.
okay. And
Kelly,
this-
if you remove your second
Okay.
okay, so,
motion here.
I would like to make a motion that we make the amendments to this neighborhood with lot 48 being allowed with the provisions, and then also 42,
Lot 2.
number 2, sorry. And then we have the 2 signs on each lot, 2 and 48, to be allowed.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, what else?
But don't we want to look at it before we approve?
We do.
So why don't we just approve 48 and then have them come back with 2, with the plans for 2?
But I don't know exactly what would we be looking at. It's going to be a similar layout on the plot plan as the existing home.
It'll
And it's
mirror
gonna have-
48, and you can get it in their permit process. We can't build it without the review on that.
It'll be a similar elevation to what's being built there now, painted siding with the brick water
I
table.
promise you, we'll mirror it dimensionally, and the extra yardage on Lot 2 will be larger backyard.
We have a motion.
Okay, yeah, is that a clear enough motion? I jumped
Motion for
around.
lot 48 and lot 2 to be accepted as the hardy siding or similar material, then also to have an entranceway on both those lots, or an entrance monument on both those lots.
That's exactly what I said.
So is there a second?
Second.
Second, Anderson. Okay, so first, second, any additional discussion?
Should we clarify the brick, or are y'all clear on the brick and what lots that are still need to be brick?
149 and 50. We got it.
Mrs. Stanza, how do you feel about, just from a visual perspective, what's your thoughts on brick, but siding, brick? Think it'll be,
I think it was smart to include Lot 2. I think it'll make for a much more seamless transition to have both of those lots, even if they're different sizes. It will definitely have a better look and a sense of character coming into Braden. I think it'll set the neighborhood apart. So, I think keeping 149 and 50 larger lots and brick, I think it'll keep in character with the rest of the street.
We already got somebody wanting Lot 1 anyway.
so they should all be all brick, right? All right, so we have a first and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
got 2.
All right, next one will be new business item 2. Recommendation to the Board of Commissioners on the rezoning of property requested by Kenny Taylor, property located at 7312 Taylor Road, tax map 42, parcel 77.08, 5 acres, current zoning district RS40, proposed zoning district R20. Sir, Mr. Jenkins, if you could please read the staff comments.
There are no technical staff comments from planning or engineering pertaining to this item. All required documentation has been submitted. The applicant, Mr. Kenny Taylor, is requesting this 5-acre parcel be rezoned from RS40 to R20 for the purpose of creating 5 estate-style single-family lots in the future. Per his justification letter contained within his application, he is proposing to create 5 roughly 1-acre lots, which is what the current RS40 zoning requires. However, RS40 requires each lot to be at least 150 foot in width at the setback line. And his parcel, due to its size and configuration, does not have quite enough frontage to allow 5 lots under the current zoning designation. For this reason, Mr. Taylor is requesting a rezoning of his property to R20. As shown on the aerial image on the last page of the packet, there is existing R20 in the immediate vicinity, including 20 acres immediately northwest of the property fronting Old Nashville Road. Should Mr. Taylor's property develop excuse me, I lost my line. Should Mr. Taylor's property develop in keeping with the suggested future development plan in the letter, the new construction will mirror the existing 1 house per acre pattern that already exists in the area, regardless of its new R20 designation. It should be kept in mind, however, that this application is only for rezoning and not approval of a specific future development plan.
Sir. Mr. Mangrum representing, Mr. Taylor present also. Have any additional comments, Mr. Mangrum?
Now, as you can see, the road frontage would allow us to stay with an R40 zoning and still get 5 lots. As you can see, the northern property line is not straight. So when you set back where the building would be, there's just not enough room there. Now, as another little caveat to the R40 opposed to R20, if you look at your R40 zoning, the front setback is supposed to be 50 foot, and the R20 allows 35-foot setbacks on the road. To help conform with other houses in that general vicinity, we would be glad to leave the 50-foot setback off of Taylor Road to help the houses conform with the existing houses across the street, even though there's going to be some behind them that's going to be totally different setbacks.
Sir. And so the lots will still be the 1 acre RS40 size, but it's just the limit on the widths.
Correct, and we considered going to the Board of Zoning Appeals for that, but I just felt this was a better and more above board way to attack it.
Questions? Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion, we approve, stipulating that he stay with the 50-foot setbacks.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Carries. Thank you, Mr. Mangrum.
Thank you.
All right, we will move into new business item 3. Site plan McDonald's, property located at 2233 Fairview Boulevard, tax map 42, parcel 152, 1.2 acres, commercial general zoning district, property owned by Arkland Property 1 LLC. Could you state your name for me, sir?
Ken Crowder, Martin Engineering, representing McDonald's Corporation.
Sir?
This plan is, McDonald's has been going through a program to update their stores, and this is one of the stores that's in their program right now. The building's going to be remodeled. They're, as you can see by the elevations, they're going to take the old mansard roof off, and they'll extend the parapet up and then put on new, what they call canopies, and the play place, they're going to add that to the front of the building. And then the civil portion, there's the sidewalks and right around the building to be redone for ADA compliance, and the parking along the non-drive-through side of the building is going to be redone so that the handicap parking meets ADA. But that's pretty much, and that, what's going to be done. Also at the drive-through locations, McDonald's is putting in digital menu boards now. So they'll be taking out the existing menu boards and then replacing them with the digital menu boards that you see there in the picture. So that's pretty much everything that's going to be happening on the site. I mean, you won't be changing curb lines. You won't be regrading, the site anywhere except for just right there around the building where the handicap parking is. Pretty much everything else will stay the same. If you have any questions, I'll answer those.
Sir, we do have some staff comments. If I get Mr. Jenkins to read those in for me.
Yes, sir. There are no technical staff comments from planning or engineering pertaining to this item. The submitted site plan meets the city's requirements. To summarize, the existing McDonald's restaurant on Fairview Boulevard is slated to undergo a renovation and upgrade to the current corporate prototype. The great majority of the planned changes are internal, restroom upgrades, new dining room seating, or cosmetic, which would not require a planning commission review. However, there are some minor site changes, including redesignating some parking spaces for mobile ordering, removal of mansard roof and parapet extension, complete change of the exterior facade materials, installation of new signs / reader boards along the drive-through queue, and enclosure of the existing playground area. As the color elevations show, the new facades will be composed almost entirely of gray brick and storefront glass. There will also be an additional landscape component that includes a series of arborist-approved shrubs.
Thanks, sir. Questions for the applicant?
I do.
Burks?
As many times as I've been to this McDonald's, you would think I would know the answer to this question, but is there air conditioning on the roof?
Yes, sir.
With what you're changing with that roof line, will it be visible or not?
No, sir. The parapets are extended up high enough to hide all elements on top of the roof. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Sir?
How long will McDonald's be shut down, if any?
Typically, it depends. I mean, sometimes they do the remodels and they never shut down. Then they just redid one up in Nashville, and the store was shut down for 60 days. So it just depends on how the owner-operator wants to handle that.
Questions?
Now, I make a motion to approve with any additions to the comments from staff, which I don't think there was.
First, is there a second?
I'll second it.
First and second, any additional discussion?
On the plant list.
I'll check that.
Mike Berkeley indicated that the items that were on the landscape plan were on the approved list.
Okay, because I didn't see the silver grass when I looked.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Crowder.
Thank you.
Item number 4, recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to accept the public improvements, including the roads, sidewalks, and storm drainage for Western Woods Village, Section 2, Phase 1 and 2, and Section 3. We have a representative tonight, Western Woods. Do we need a representative?
All left with Cumberland Estates.
So this one was added on there. Do you have any, I guess we can read the staff
Yes,
comments
absolutely.
for me, sir.
Last year, the Planning Commission voted to reduce the performance bond down to the required one-year maintenance bond of the amount of $20,000, which will expire February 10th, 2018. At this stage, the subdivision acceptance process should be started, and the required maintenance bond should be released if all improvements are in good standing. Staff has discussed with the city engineer, who indicated that as-built drawings were submitted, and he has performed his site inspection and found that the public improvements covered by the maintenance bond are in good standing. Therefore, in accordance with Section 3-105 of the Fairview Subdivision Regulations, it is appropriate to start the subdivision acceptance process by making a recommendation to the board.
Sir? Any questions for the staff? I know this was one that we talked about in November quite a bit. I don't know if this section is a different section.
We talked about the
New section.
currently under construction Phase 4.
Okay. So these are the front section that are completed, no construction, nothing under construction now. It has been inspected by our engineer for recommendation.
So that actually includes some of the sections we were talking about last month that had flooding issues, right?
It does. You should have a copy of the as-built drawing in your packet. Lot 37 was the one that was in question, and we actually looked back between myself and the engineer and a surveyor who's been commissioned to look at some stormwater issues for his specific lot. It was found where Lot 37 actually came before the Planning Commission on its own and had some stormwater improvements done. They were approved, the improvements were approved, as well as the easement. So I suppose you could say that was sort of a separate issue, but yeah, as far as Will is concerned, all of the improvements that were on the construction plans and on the as-built drawings were installed correctly. I mean, he looked at it last year and that's how it went from the performance bond to the maintenance bond, and he went back out again to make sure that everything that's there is correct, and he indicated that it was. So the maintenance bond should drop off at this point. As far as an individual lot issue, I don't think that's from the public improvements. I mean, it looks more like it's from neighboring. There's a lot of additional concrete where people put large patios or very large concrete driveways, and some of those site issues I think have helped to make the runoff worse for that specific lot. But I know that lot owner is looking with a specific surveyor to have some things taken care of.
Thank you.
So with the issues with the detention pond in probably the second phase, backing up and all that, to your knowledge, everything's taken care of?
Yeah, the detention pond is actually was in a different phase than these ones that are being accepted. And then there's also an additional detention pond in phase 4 that's under construction. So yeah, there's nothing, and I specifically asked the engineer pertaining to drainage and the roads, and he indicated that everything was on par.
Okay.
So, Ms. Costanzo, there are some things, I'm fairly familiar with this area, and there are like some storm drains that are broken where I don't know what they're made out of, cast iron or whatever it is, where they're actually like broken and sheared off. Is that something that should be covered under this?
That should be covered, yes.
Okay.
And if the engineer missed that for some reason, okay. I can specifically ask him to go and make a second visit, mm-hmm. Because that is something that would fall under a maintenance bond. Mm-hmm. There are quite a few sections of this subdivision, so it would probably be beneficial for me maybe to talk to you after to find out specifically where those are, just to make sure
one that I'm
those
thinking
are contained.
of. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just to make sure they're contained in these specific. These 2 subsections and then section 3.
One that I'm thinking of specifically is at lot 16.
Okay.
Right there where there's like a cast iron drain that attaches to the curb, the concrete portion of the curb. That's the only thing I can think of immediately that comes to my mind.
Okay.
It's only because I see that all the time.
Okay. I'll make a note of that, and I can certainly have him make a secondary inspection.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
No questions?
So can we, if we make this motion, do it with, could you have Will do this before the February 10th?
Yes.
I don't know that our meeting is before then, so we probably wouldn't want to defer it, just do it in contingent. Yeah. What now?
The meeting is the 13th.
Okay, yeah.
If that's something that needs to be fixed, that's something that definitely could be covered and could be easily remedied. And I'm sure the developer would be happy to do that in order to get the acceptance process going.
Okay, great, thank you.
Additional questions? Anyone like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to accept, contingent upon all the drains being replaced if any of them are damaged.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 5 will be election of officers for 2018 calendar year. So we'll just go, we'll start at the top, we'll accept nominations, and then we'll vote down. So we'll start with chairman. Anyone like to make a motion for the chairman position?
I'd make a motion that Mr. Butler continue to be the chairman for the next year, if he's willing to do so.
Sir, I don't know if we need a second on a nomination, or if there's any other nominations, we'll vote.
Yeah, that's, if there's no more, and then we just vote.
Okay, so all in, is there any other nominations? Need a second? Does anybody have a second?
We'll second it.
Second, Mr. Anderson. Thank you guys for your confidence, if you vote. So all in favor, unless we have any other nominations, all in favor of Butler chairman?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move to vice chair. Currently, Mr. Jenkins holds the vice chair. Have any nominations?
I would like to nominate Mr. Jenkins as vice chair.
Second?
There is.
All right, we have first and second. Any additional nominations for vice chair? All in favor of Daniel Jenkins for vice chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, congratulations, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you.
First secretary, we currently do not have a first secretary. And so anyone, I know Mr. Anderson is our second secretary currently. So accept nominations for first secretary.
I nominate Commissioner Slaughter.
First, a nomination for Ms. Slaughter. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And so we have one nomination, first and second, on first secretary. Is there any other nominations?
Mr. Anderson, would you like to be first secretary?
I wouldn't hurt my feelings, but it doesn't matter.
We're very fortunate to have Ms. Hall taking minutes on there, so you're not writing anything down, you're just signing things. Any other nominations? So we have any other nominations for first secretary? All in favor of Ms. Slaughter for first secretary?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Slaughter. And second secretary currently sits Mr. Anderson. Do we have any nominations for second secretary?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Anderson as second secretary.
Second.
First and a second. Any other nominations for second secretary? All in favor for Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect. Thank you guys very much. All right, we'll move into bonds and letters of credit. Item 5, Audubon Cove Mixed Use PUD, request to set the bond amount. We have a few staff comments. Mr. Jenkins, if you could read those in.
Sir, per the attached bond breakdown from the city engineer, the recommended bond amount should be: the reclamation bond should be set to $426,000. Performance bond for all infrastructure should be set to $1.57 million.
Sir, if you will see in your packet, you have a breakdown from the engineer's notes. If you have any questions of where those numbers come from, or you do have a representative, Mr. Murphy. Any questions? Anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the bond recommendations from the engineer.
We have a motion to accept the amounts recommended by the engineer.
Second.
We have first and second. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Item 6, Wynwood Park, Phase 1, request to set the bond amount. Sorry. Same thing. So, yep, staff comments on item 6, please, Mr. Jenkins.
Per the attached bond breakdown from the city engineer, the recommended bond amounts should be: for the reclamation bond, $388,000. The performance bond for all infrastructure, $927,000.
Sir, we have representation here tonight for Wynwood Park. Mr. Beata. You also have a breakdown for Wynwood Park in your packet. Any additional questions? Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve according to the city engineer's comments.
First, is there a second?
Second.
Additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. And item 7, Fairview Station Phase 2, request to set the bond amount. Mr. Jenkins, if you could read those staff comments there.
Per the attached bond breakdown from the city engineer, the recommended bond amounts should be, for the reclamation bond, $28,000, and for the performance bond for all infrastructure, $65,000.
Sir, do we have any representation for Fairview Station?
Evening, Kathleen Robson Gordon. I'm representing Fairview Station. I'm an attorney. I apologize. I'm standing in for my husband, who's also their lawyer, Holly Gordon. I'm slightly outside my practice area, so you got to bear with me. I've got notes on this. He said Phase 1 and Phase 2 are recorded. I believe he spoke with Kristen or emailed. The third and final plat was approved. No other bond was required on that, since the improvements were included in Phase 1.
So this is for Phase 2. Any additional comments on? No. So we also have a breakdown there. Any additional questions?
So it's $28,000 for the reclamation and $65,000 for performance is what it's getting reduced to?
If that's approved, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is this a reduction of Phase 2, or is this setting that new section in Phase 2?
It's just setting the section of Phase 2. And in Will's notes, they really can choose just to do the performance and not the reclamation, considering that, some of the infrastructure's already been installed. I mean, they're getting ready to put houses up. So the performance bond for the $65,000 is more than adequate.
Anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to set the bonds, both reclamation and performance bond, per the city engineer's recommendation.
First, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Gordon.
Thank you.
All right, that will wrap us up tonight. We'll go reports for discussion. City Planner, Ms. Costanza.
I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
Thank you. City Engineer Present, Mr. Potter, City Attorney. Thank you, sir. City Manager. Communication from the Planning Commission members. Ms. Slaughter. Mr. Anderson.
Not a thing.
Mr. Powers.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Kelly.
I'm good.
Mr. Burks.
Yes. My understanding is we were going to start the workshops today to start going over the revised subdivision regs, as well as the zoning ordinances and all of that. So I don't know what happened. We lost something in the communication or something. So let's go ahead and set that now. I would assume for next month, Planning Commission meeting. Let's go ahead and have the first workshop start at 6, if everybody's okay with that, so we can start going through that process.
Perfect.
So if we could go ahead and set that up, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was discussed at the Planning Commission training, and turned out that the city engineer had forgotten that he had a prior commitment with his former boss retiring tonight, so he apologizes for that. But I'll send out an email tomorrow indicating that is the plan to meet at 6 o'clock on the 13th.
Perfect. And when we send the agenda, if we'll just send a workshop agenda too, just for a reminder for everybody, it'd be perfect. Mr. Burks, anything else?
I believe that is it. Thank you.
Mayor Carroll?
Yeah, I don't have anything tonight.
I want to congratulate Commissioner Slaughter on the appointment to her new position.
I'll keep the trend, nothing further. I don't know if we need anything for training, or if you guys have captured that. I know Will used to ask Ms. Hall to capture it. I don't know if we need to send anything for 2017 training hours, because I know we usually would capture it and then vote on accepting it in our meeting. So
I could put together something for on the next agenda if that's
perfect.
If that's
and so if anybody has any
procedure.
training hours that weren't captured with the last month's training or anything, just send them over to try and capture all the hours. Awesome. All right, that's all I have. Great work tonight. I'll accept a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you guys.
Second.